clay enthusiast. I'm Michaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and in today's tutorial I want to inspire you to make beautiful faux Murano charms. And we are going to use again nail art foils and a little bit of glitter to make these beautiful beads. So I'm experimenting with three ideas, meaning that I have a bead that is made out of white polymer clay. I have a bead that is made out of a white polymer clay base, but with a translucent layer on top. And the third bead is made from translucent polymer clay. So for this bead that I'm demonstrating in the video, I've used the white clay base and then I put the translucent decorative with nail art foil on top. So for the base I have prepared some white polymer clay properly conditioned, and I passed the clay through the setting number 2 of my Atlas pasta machine, and I'm going to use a round cutter to cut 2 units. And I am using a cutter because I want to cut the same number of units for the beads that I want to have the same size. And then I rolled the clay into a ball, and for these beads I am going to use finger protection like gloves, because I really don't want to leave fingerprints on these beauties. And so I've prepared a second layer of polymer clay passed through the setting number 4, so it's a very thin layer of polymer clay, and I decorated it with a beautiful floral nail art pattern, but this pattern has also some interesting silver glitter elements. And then I used a smaller Kemper cutter to cut out 2 round pieces, and I applied these these pieces on opposite sides on the bead. And in fact I am going to use eyelets for the faux charm effect, and I am going to place those eyelets so that I would have the floral elements on the side of the bead. And then because I had a gap in between the 2 round colorful clay pieces that I applied on the bead, I decided to decorate a piece of polymer clay with some glitter, light pink glitter, and then I cut a thin strip of clay decorated with glitter, and I applied it in between, in the gap of the 2 round floral nail art transfer clay elements. And of course you'll have to roll the bead between your hands in the middle of the palm to make it, to give it the round shape again. And when I'm applying the glitter, I'm doing this on top of a piece of paper because I want to be able to collect the excess glitter and put it back into the jar. And then you'll just have to use a toothpick or a skewer and poke a hole. And for this kind of charm beads I want to have large holes, because normally you want to put these beads onto a bracelet or onto a chain, so you need to have large, extra large holes to be able to do so. So I'm doing my best to make these holes as large as possible, and then I also roll the bead against my table, and then I'm going to put silver color eyelets on each side of the bead, and I'm working with the bead on top of the toothpick, and I am applying um, eyelets on the left and on the right of the bead, and I'm pressing them gently into the clay, but in the same time I'm trying to have the same pressure. So if you apply more pressure on one side of the bead, you'll have a bead that will not be, that would be a little bit distorted. And I'm also pressing, so I'm pressing them into the bead, and I'm pressing on the clay because I want to have a beautiful roundel shape for the beads. And I decided to spice up a little bit this design with some pointy back crystals in a very light pinkish color. And again, I'm going to use the drill pen, the diamond painting drill pen, to pick up these rhinestones and place them on the bead. They are a little bit larger than the crystals and than the drill diamond painting drills, so I had a little bit of difficulty to get some of them. And so you'll just have to place the rhinestones on top of the bead, and then I'm using my hands with the gloves with this kind of finger protection, and I'm pressing the rhinestone into the bead very with a gentle touch, because I don't want to distort the shape of the bead, of course. And I think I should have rolled the bead a little bit more, because there are some seam lines that you can still see in the bead. And then when you are happy with the look of the pieces, you can bake them for 45 minutes in the preheated oven. I've baked the beads on the toothpick, and I put it on a metal cutter. And I'm working with white and translucent polymer clay, so I tinted my beads with an aluminum disposable pan to protect them from direct heat. I let the clay cool down, and then I applied 2 layers of UV resin. And in order to do so, I'm working with the bead on top of the toothpick, and I'm gently supporting the bead on top of my fingers with the protection. And then I applied a thin layer of UV resin using a brush, and before curing the resin with the bucket UV lamp, I've used baby wipes to remove any excess resin, and then I cured the resin for 40 seconds, and I'm going to do this for every bead. Remove any excess UV resin, and then cure the bead with the UV lamp, the bucket UV lamp. And and it is very important to remove these drippings before curing the bead, which is why I prefer to use the bucket UV lamp, and cure the beads a little bit after cleaning them with baby wipes. And then I am going to put the beads under the larger UV lamp, and for these beads I applied 1 coat of UV resin. I've cured it for 3 minutes, and then I've applied a second layer, and I cured the second layer for 5-6 minutes. And these are the finished pieces, and I hope that you like this idea, and I hope that you will Take it and use it in your work with polymer clay. Please tell me which of the beads do you prefer, and stay tuned for more inspiration for your work with polymer clay. Thank you for watching the tutorial.